Hello everybody and welcome back to the Smite Challenger Circuit. Aggro and Mackenzie, joined by Caleb Mifflin Sullivan. Miff, I'm sorry to do this to you, to bring on Mackenzie during your set. It's just, I'm in the chair one seat for this set, so I have to really ingratiate myself to the audience. Best way to do that, of course, is with Mackenzie. And she's going to help us here with a pretty good set. Belt Slap up against Just F6. Just F6 have a lot to prove in this one, because Belt Slap seem to be the team that might just run away with this region. They have the level of talent to do it.
Yeah, Belt Slap, this star-studded roster that we've known about the entire time. Arkkyl, Trixtank, Zyrhoes, Dzoni, and Julio. I mean, that's about as good as it's going to get. But Just F6 have shown that they're able to compete at the highest level in this league. I'm really keeping my eyes on CaptainOti this set. He's been popping off largely in every set he's played so far. It's not fair to say that Just F6 has great odds, but saying that it's like a 7-3 in favor of Belt Slap, I think would be fair.
Belt Slap certainly a team that looks like they might just be the best in this region. As Mackenzie's getting antsy, she wants picks and bans. Well, we can do that for her right away. Picks and bans ready. As Just F6 gonna be in that first pick position. First pick, I mean, I don't know if you were watching the last set, Miff, but Camazotz went through and did not get picked or banned in game number 2. I do not think that that's going to be the case here in this game. Camazotz, I imagine, will still be a priority pick.
Yeah, Just F6 have shown that they value that god very highly, and for good reason. He's got some of the highest damage output of any assassin, as well as so much sustain. And I love ultimates that can remove you from the playfield, and that's exactly what Camazotz does. Bat out of hell, just going to take you up into the air, can't be damaged, and you're also going to be dealing damage to anyone near you. It's pretty good. I mean, it's all you want, right?
Interesting. A lot of solo lane bans here by Just F6. They look like they want to take Julio out of the conversation. All right, you want to go back on the bed? She wants to go back on the bed. She was sleeping. I did wake her up for chat. But it looks like Just F6 may try and prioritize something for CaptainOti, but they ban 3 solo laners and then don't first pick the solo laner for themselves. Usually, you do this in order to first pick something like King Arthur, right, in that slot to try and get yourself the only good pick left in your mind. But seems like Just F6 is pretty content to just ban away 3 solo laners and then see what happens.
I like the pickup of Merlin, though. We've seen that Just F6 really plays off their mid laner as well as their solo laner, and Merlin's going to be able to control the center of the map and also get them some early objectives if they get a lead. Merlin has some of the best objective burn in the game.
Super, super nuts at those objective burns for sure. As Trixtank seems to have liked this Sobek as well so far, but I love the Terra pick up against it. Can't toss her back with that charge prey as long as she has a monolith down. So that's a pretty good selection there. As Kali gets through, that's a pick that's been very hotly contested in EU Challenger Circuit in particular. A 100% win rate for it I just saw on the bottom ticker as well. So certainly for a reason as the solo lane focus continues. Another solo lane banned by Just F6 with Tier, a Hercules banned by Belt Slap, and now it's a couple mid laner rather in Giannis. Osiris still open. That's exactly what I was about to say. He gets picked up, so Belt Slap end up with a pretty strong warrior. I wonder what Just F6 is going to do. Maybe they put Terra solo?
Terra could go solo. I would prefer to see her elsewhere on the map because her ultimate's going to be so good dealing with this sustained damage from Kali in the early. You kind of want her somewhere she can get involved before level 10. So support would be ideal for Terra. It looks like Achilles will be going solo lane. I'm not a huge fan of that matchup into Osiris, especially now that, as you said earlier, Gladiator Shield got that nerf. Berserker Shield is going to be popping off. Osiris is going to benefit greatly from that.
Man, no Odin in this game, no Kukulkan, though. Yeah, okay, I was about to say, where is he? Zyrhoes has loved this pick. If Zyrhoes doesn't pick it here, then something's going on. Maybe there's a ruling that they can't use him, but they do end up picking the Kukulkan. Belt Slap get 10th pick Kukulkan. They get Kali for Dzoni, Ullr for Arkkyl. Feel like they came away with a pretty strong draft, but I'm surprised at how the solo laners got so much focus here, and still we ended up with Osiris, Achilles, 2 picks that are usually prioritized very early in drafts.
I mean, it just shows that in Season 7, the meta's changed a little bit to focus on these other gods in King Arthur, in Camazotz, gods like that. So maybe these high-tier picks from Season 6 that haven't really been changed throughout the season are still good. They're just not as prioritized as they once were. And now King Arthur and Achilles are going to be able to go through relatively uncontested On the other hand, I'm really confused as how Kukulkan made it all the way to 10th pick. That blows my mind. He's so strong.
Giannis ban instead? Crazy. I mean, I don't know how we got there, but just F6 maybe scared of the mobility that Giannis would provide. Certainly Zyrhoes won't be able to match that with the Kukulkan, but damage output is a little bit of a different story, and he's been playing this Kukulkan very, very well so far in this SCC. Bit of a different start in this game than what we saw in the first set. Support starting on this left side of the map is Totti in a lot of trouble. Already has to get shelled by Rottwen, and Arkkyl just walking him down. Trixtank takes a tower shot, but now Arkkyl is actually getting awfully low, gets stunned by Rottwen as both ADCs end up taking quite a bit of poke. They both got pots to spare.
I mean, Rottwen played that so well. Immediately Totti was caught out of position, but Rottwen moved in onto Arkkyl, just slamming autos into him the entire time, preventing any aggression. This wall's nuts.
Rottwen might have gotten baited by how good that wall was, though. He feels like he could turn that fight around, but instead, it's Arkkyl right there with the combo First Blood for Belt Slap, and I'd wager that they are getting a lot of First Bloods with Arkkyl on this Ullr. They've been picking this early and often for him, and he's really just been dominating people with it. A lot like what he did last year in the SPL. Pick him a pressure hunter like Hou-Yi or Ullr and kind of just let Kenny go to work.
I mean, if you've got it, you flaunt it. Arkyl's definitely got it, and he's already flaunting it as well. A slight gold lead in favor of Belt Slap, a minute and 15 of the game. I imagine that's how that lane will go largely for the rest of the match until the supports start to rotate out. Maybe Rottwen elects to stay in that lane a little bit longer as Arkkyl does have this early lead. And an Ullr with a lead is relatively untouchable in that 1v1.
Not even a Hachiman can really stay safe as Totti gets his dash interrupted by Trixtank. Bladed arrow should be coming up soon here for Arkkyl, but it's a little bit wide left. Totti ends up surviving based on a good juke or a little bit of a miss there by Arkkyl. Non-juke catches Arkkyl off guard, but Trixtank is on point so far on this Sobek. That's a couple initiations by him that have netted near kills or outright kills for Belt Slap.
They're playing really well in this long lane. I want to keep my eyes on CaptainOti in that solo lane, however. That matchup should be pretty impactful. I believe Osiris will get the pressure out early and might be able to open up a gank potential onto himself from this Serqet with the true damage and the execute from Achilles. However, in middle lane, it seems like both teams are just electing to farm up naturally. They're not really doing anything aggressive as of yet. If they want to get a good pressure out from Belt Slap, they need to start focusing on this Merlin, make sure he can't get off the ground running. Unfortunately, they do have this Callie who is more late game focused, so her ganks onto this Merlin might be a little bit stunted as opposed to a Serqet gank from just F6.
Well, Zyrhoes has a lot of damage potential right now as he's gone with a build that we're going to start to see a lot of in competitive in my mind, which is this Purple Boots Rush. You sit in base for that extra 50 gold and you end up leeching speed XP anyways as you're walking past, and you get there in time for the first few minions. You don't miss anything. It means you don't get any pots to start out with, but you have the innate sustain for the lifesteal, a little bit of mana now on these boots. Little surprised that we see Zyrhoes do it on Kukulkan, a god that just wants to get Book of Thoth as early as possible, but I think this Purple Boot start is going to be really, really strong.
It is a little bit surprising that he would elect to go for the Shoes of the Magi rather than the Focus as well. You'd get the additional mana from Focus to work with his passive, as well as CDR is just going to be really good on Kukulkan no matter what. But let me tell you, I've been playing a couple ranked games recently, and mid laners are doing this boot rush start, and it hurts. As a jungler, I don't like it. They just walk by my buff, take my farm without helping. I'm slowed down now that I've got less gold for it anyway. I mean, mid laners are selfish human beings. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now.
What? Me? No way, man. Listen, you buy Hog, you have a consumable to help you. You don't need my help anymore. You're chilling. And it makes sure that, you know, I get mid pressure and I can go and push my wave and make sure that I'm getting red buff on time, which I will I tried to hold red, but I just did more damage than I thought, so it got cleared early. So sorry I didn't hold that for you, but you know how it goes. You'll be there for the next one and so on and so forth. I'm not here for the jungler complaining hour. No way am I standing for that. Mid laners are the people, and we love mid laners. That's all I'm saying.
Mid laners are the people indeed. As you were saying earlier, Kukulkan is electing to go into that Book of Thoth rush. Should be able to get that online relatively quickly. while on the other hand, Merlin should have better fight potential as he's rushed the CDR and he's moving into the Chronos Pendant early. Whether or not the jungler is trying to put the pressure out in that lane could be very indicative of this first Gold Fury.
Gold Fury, certainly a pick that both teams have to worry about because of the gods on each side. You've got Merlin with that great objective burn, as you highlighted during picks and bans, and then Zyrhoes with the great objective secure in that spirit of the 9 wins. So both teams do have to keep their head on a swivel on this left-hand side because Gold Fury certainly in play early, especially if Arkkyl can continue to press his lead on this left-hand side. It hasn't materialized into too much right now. They're both at the same point in itemization, but you imagine that Arkkyl certainly has a lot more kill potential in this lane, not only based off the lead that he has, but also just his god selection. Ullr, the premier I'm gonna solo you ADC that you can pick.
Luckily, Hachiman is one of the safer picks with the CC immunity in his ult, as well as the ability to just hop on a horse and run away, but that's not exactly how you want to use that ult. It's also a fantastic team fight tool, so if the fight does move over towards that Gold Fury side, even though there's a slight lead on Ullr, so long as that bleed doesn't continue to grow, Just F6 might have the edge in the fight just from the AoE off of Hachiman's ult.
But Dzoni has a little bit of a lead, so you can't really sit around and wait for Totti to get there all the rest of the game, because you got to keep in mind that Kali time bomb that is just waiting. Dzoni, in my mind, the premier late game assassin player in the SCC across both regions. As Trixtank looks for the pluck, doesn't find it, but Rottwen has used that Earthen Fury. You get the ultimate for not a lot of commit in that moment, and you get to steal away those left side minis. Belt Slap looking like the more aggressive team so far, but Trixtank has to be careful. Dashes away, and iSotos a little bit out of range. Haven't seen Serqet jungle in a little bit, Mifflin, but with the changes to her ultimate, no longer true damage, but now with physical power scaling, are you surprised at the lack of Serqet we've seen, or do you think that we should be staying away from this pick in the jungle?
I personally really do love Serqet insofar as she is a jungle assassin that has the ability to just solo an enemy god. Her damage output and burst is so high that she doesn't need follow-up from her team a lot of the time. And I am a selfish player. I think most junglers are. That's kind of how you want to play. If you can get the kill yourself, it's almost always better. However, she also has some of the fastest early game jungle clear in the game with her first ability, almost single-handedly taking out back camps and speed buff as well instantly. So she should be able to get the rotation path a little bit quicker online. However, she needs to start applying some pressure because she doesn't scale into the late game nearly as well as Dzoni does on this Kali. So she needs to make her stamp a little bit earlier on. She can't really rest on her laurels as she has been.
A little bit down at XP right now. Quick amendment, it is still true damage on the ultimate for Serqet, but just lower base and now with physical power scaling. So still true damage overall though for her. I mean, it's a matchup that you think might be okay against Kali, shutting down the healing in that ultimate, but can be awkward at times, especially when you get plucked back in like this. Spear of the 9 Winds does not land, but Arkkyl on the rotation over from that long lane. Trixtank trying to lock down Rottwen, gonna knock him up. Dzoni right there, and Arkyl's gonna find his second kill of the contest. Zyrhoes' ultimate nearly absolutely flattening iSotos in that jungle around the Gold Fury. But with that ultimate down for Zyrhoes, that means that kill isn't going to amount to too much. Can't really go for gold after that ult is down. Back to the Serqet though, I mean, you usually want to last breath to Kali right before she gets that heal off in that ultimate. That does shut down a lot of what you're picking Kali for. But in the early to mid game, a lot of times, and even in the late game, Serqet, you're kind of using last breath and then walking away, letting your tick damage do the work for you. Can't really do that against Kali either, as Arkkyl in trouble on this left-hand side. Trixtank shows up right on time. Arkkyl was close there to falling down, but of course he only played it that way, Mifflin, because he knew Trixtank was coming, right?
Yeah, I mean, Arkkyl, a completely infallible player, of course, as you just said. But it's worth noting that Hachiman had to use his beads there, as well as he doesn't have his ultimate available for that fight. That's probably feeds into Arkyl's decision-making to stick out that fight as well. But now that the beads are down and Arkkyl has this enormous lead, it's going to be so hard for Totti to just sit in that lane safely. We might have to see Rottwen rotate over there and help him out until those beads are back up, or maybe his ultimate's back up. But this lane is getting really bad. 3-0 for Arkkyl on the side of Belt Slap. 100% kill participation. Someone needs to go over there and help out Totti.
Now the good news, in some ways, is Sotos plucked back, and Trixtank actually gonna have to use his ultimate, making sure that he doesn't get CC comboed by Sotos, as Rottwen again left to the wolves, and Dzoni gonna get the first kill, not named Arkkyl, on Belt Slap, as in the solo lane, Oti and Julio, you're gonna trade out ultimates on that side. Is that all the kills and all the lead pretty much so far is on to Arkkyl, as Trixtank overextends, eats that ultimate combo from Sotos, and ends up losing his life for it, as Julio getting low, but Oti just a little bit short in the damage department, but Dzoni's jump off the mark may be enough to let Oti off the hook. Dzoni still has his ultimate and will use it, because he knew that turn potential from Oti was coming, but Oti fends off the gank until he doesn't. Julio with that Spirit Flail eventually gets the kill, but that solo lane going the way you expected so far is a lot of kill pressure on that side, and well played by Oti to live that long. Arkkyl looking for a little bit more. Won't be able to find the axe, so Totti is out of there.
Man, that was a tearjerker for Oti. He played it so well, there was almost nothing more he could do. I mean, he played nearly perfectly if he avoids that last hit from Osiris, he lives. Unfortunately for Arkkyl, he didn't quite play that one perfectly, as Sotos gets the blink in rotation and picks up that easy kill with that huge bounty as well. That's going to be huge for Serqet.
That's where I was going to go whenever before that fight happened in mid and right, that this lead for Arkkyl, he had 1,000 gold by himself. Just F6's lead, or deficit rather, is about 1,800, so you can knock out over half of that lead just by taking out Arkkyl, and that's exactly what they just did. Also looks like he lost his purification bead, so you end up now where this lead looks bigger than it really is, as long as Arkkyl isn't a part of the fight or is on respawn, and maybe with those purification beads down, Sotos can head on over and grab himself another kill. 2-0 for him. He has both kills of the contest so far for just F6.
That's the downside of Ullr as well. Once his beads are down, the only true escape he has is that leap on his third ability in Axe Stance. No CC immunity on his ultimate, so Sotos, if he decides to rotate over there, that should be a relatively easy kill, especially with Hachiman in that lane, able to chase down the jump with a slow on his ultimate. But instead, it looks like Arkyl's going to continue to play aggressive.
Man, Totti again gets his dash interrupted. Maybe we start holding that for after Tail Whip comes out, but now Rottwen left in a bad spot. Feel like I've been saying that a lot so far, but here comes Sotos. That wall makes sure that Arkkyl doesn't get CC'd, and in fact, it's Sotos who ends up falling. Doku's damage not enough to bring down Arkkyl, though it was close. And that's a 2-for-0 in favor of Belt Slap. Looks like it was going to go really poorly for just F6. Then you get a glimmer of hope, but ultimately it still ends up going Belt Slap's way handily.
There comes a point in every jungler's life where you realize a lane is losing so bad that you need to get involved over there. So you rotate over, you're trying to find that kill, and then you just get bopped for it. When that happens to me, my brain shuts down completely, and I just ignore that lane going forward. So I imagine Sotos might be a little bit deterred from moving over to Arkyl's territory again, especially now that he's got this enormous lead as well. The Transcendent's nearly fully stacked. I imagine he might be moving into the Aussie, getting that lifesteal online. It's not looking appealing to fight him ever. You might look towards Soul Lane to start establishing a little bit of a lead for yourself.
And Julio is a level 14 Osiris who's forcing CaptainOti's ult, so that doesn't seem like a particularly viable gank path for you either. Zyrhoes is building in a Breastplate of Valor, and Serqet is not a great matchup up against Kukulkan, as I'm sure you've been on the receiving end a couple times, Mifflin. You hop on with that last breath, and you feel like you're making plays, and then you get absolutely one-shot by Spirit of the Nine Winds because you're locked in place. So it's I don't know where Sotos really goes with this Serqet from this point. Where would you be going?
My back camp's on cooldown, as Sotos is electing to do now. And, you know, if you take a peek at that map, that purple farms up. Usually you leave that for the Hunter, but when every lane's losing, you take what you can get. And it looks like he might even elect to move in and leech this wave as well. Sotos, my heart goes out to you, man. This is a hard game to play from the jungle.
Pick and the way that the lanes have been playing, but he's looking for something on this left-hand side as he eats an axe right away, but Arkyl's already used both relics in response to this gank, and he will end up falling. Totti there with a little bit of assistance, but Trixtank and the boys are en route. Dzoni blinks in. Hey, our tower's gone, so there's nowhere for us to go. Dzoni gets Totti, and now it's going to be Serqet next up on the list, though a really good attempt off that Cobra's Kiss. Zyrhoes eventually knocks him down. Looks like Oti's actually teleported in this left-hand side to try and keep this fight from spiraling too far out of control. But even with Oti here, I wonder if Belt Slap feels like they can go for this Gold Fury. Would be the first one of the game, and they have Zero's ultimate still available.
Not only could they go for the Gold Fury, but they know that every blink active on the side of Just F6 is down, so it's going to be so hard for them to gauge into that gold. Instead, it looks like they're going to back up and farm. Ganking duo lane when the tier 1 tower is down is so impossibly dangerous. As we saw there, the rotation was late from Belt Slap, but it didn't matter. There was no solace in a tier 1 for Just F6 to retreat to.
Now Dzoni, after that kill and assist, is up to 3-0-4 with that Kali, Hasten Katana included. That is not where you want that Kali to be at 15 minutes, Miff, is level 15, outpacing your Serqet. It's not a good spot now if you're just F6, because that time bomb that we talked about for Dzoni, it's accelerating at this point. It's going to be going off pretty quickly.
If Kali pulls a lead at any point in your game before level 20, you've already misplayed your jungle. You can't allow Kali to hit the ground running. 3-0-4 on the slash line for Dzoni. That's a disaster scenario, truly. Now that he's got the Hasten Katana online, he's going to be able to stick to his enemies. I imagine he's moving into the Executioner or maybe a Chin size here. It's going to be so hard for Just F6 to send anyone to peel off Dzoni as well. If this is the Chin size, he's going to be tearing through all these tanky targets as they pick up this Gold Fury completely free.
And Zyrhoes doesn't even need to use the ultimate at this point. The gold lead grows to over 5,000 now for Belt Slap as Just F6. In a tough spot, Trixtank gonna walk up, 2-level lead over Rottwen, and he finds Sotos again, but Zero's ultimate only finds Rottwen. No knock-up because the Monolith was down. Might have been enough lane pressure earned by poking out Rottwen, but looks like that's not the case. Tier 1 tower will still stand for the time being, but it's not just gold that's the problem here, Miff. Over 5,000 is a lot at 16 minutes, but how about the XP lead? A level for solo, 2 levels for in the jungle. You got 2 levels in mid, 2 levels in support. I mean, every single lane on Belt Slap is just up right now.
I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. It's not a good look for Just F6 right now, but if you take a peek at their comp, they do scale very well into the late game with this Merlin, with this Achilles, and as well as a standard Hunter and Hachiman. It's just whether or not they can get there before, as you said, this ticking time bomb Kali pops off. Arkkyl in a little bit of trouble as Totti aggresses.
Arkkyl already has to use the jump, and Rottwen should be able to find him here. No beads for Arkkyl. Has the Aegis, gonna just try and stand and fight. Aegis comes in late, and Totti does manage to take down Arkkyl. So despite the great start for him, does have 3 deaths. A lot of that is Soto spending significant time on that left-hand side as Oti uses his ultimate to get away. Check out the Thorns pickup for Trixtank, by the way. Not what you usually see for the Sobek, but I guess Trix decided he wanted to reflect a little bit of extra damage today.
The double Thorns pickup from Belt Slap tells me that they have very little respect right now, and they fully intend on sending every one of their teammates in with the W key the entire time. Dzoni in a little bit of trouble as he takes the Cobra's Kiss.
Still has that ultimate available if he needs it, and he's trying to hold it as long as he can, but RemagDoku showing up is going to force Dzoni's hand. Dzoni does have Blink, but needs to stay out of combat for 3 seconds, and Soto's not going to let him. Interesting pathing choice by Dzoni there. Why doesn't he just head up towards his own side of the map? Was trying to run towards the danger zone, so to speak.
He spotted out the Terra towards the Fire Giant side. You can't really move in once your jump is down, knowing that Terra has these huge AoE abilities, especially at his health pool. But as you said, moving downwards towards the enemy's fountain is almost never a good escape path. I imagine he maybe just wanted to move in towards a tower and die to one of those instead of giving the gold up to the enemy team. Instead, gets picked out by the 4-man rotation.
Totti gonna go aggressive here on Arkkyl, knowing he has no relics. Again, Sotos has set up shop on this left-hand side, and Arkkyl's KDA gets evened up. Well, at least the KD still has 1 more in the assist column, but 4-4-1 now after a great start for Arkkyl in this game. That lead has been cut down, and that's Sotos making plays on the left-hand side.
Junglers making plays? No way. That's kind of all they ever do. Soto's doing the absolute most for his team right now, as you know most junglers would anyway. But 5-2-0 you need to start getting this lead onto other people as well. Maybe get a kill to land on one of your allies off these ganks. He is pulling himself up to even with Dzoni on this Kali, which at this point, at level 17, it doesn't really matter. That ticking time bomb has already popped off. Kali's going to be doing so much already. It's only going to get worse from here. However, he could, SCC that is, try to elect to give these kills up to RemagDoku or CaptainOti if he does gank solo lane, or at least try and get Totti online a little bit earlier, as he knows that he himself, SCC, is going to scale a little bit weaker into this late game. It's time to start spreading the wealth out a little bit.
Zyrhoes is progressing in his build at the same time, so maybe Doku can get a big shutdown kill there. That would be huge for him to close that gap, because he's down about a full item at this point, a little bit less, but not by much. Still a pretty good experience gap everywhere, but experience becoming less relevant as BeltSlap approaches level 20.
And level 20 is a big deal, especially considering BeltSlap is approaching it rapidly, where on the other hand, the XP gap is closing a little bit. Soul Lane saw theirs closed up, jungle as well. The main XP deficit is coming out of the mid lane with a 2-level lead in favor of Zyrhoes. I imagine we're going to see the next team fight around this Oni Fury that's spawning shortly. Both teams have very good objective confirm ability in the fact that Merlin has that objective burn, and Zyrhoes on Kukulkan has that literal objective confirm in Spirit of the Nine Winds. Whichever team gets the defensive positioning with their warding is going to have the huge advantage going into it. I imagine BeltSlap's going to be on top of this cooldown, as they've already got 4 members on that side of the map.
Interesting pickup here by Julio as the Frostbound Hammer comes in as his 5th item in this slot. Why Frostbound? Osiris already has a low cooldown slow as it is.
I'm not a huge fan of the Frostbound pickup, but I understand that he might have elected to pick it up for those auto-attacking slows to deal with this Merlin, who has a traditionally worse escapability anyway on this flicker. It's a very short jump as on a long cooldown, so Osiris should be able to stick to him relatively well. However, as you said, the first ability is such a good slow on such a short cooldown that it's nearly infinite anyway. I imagine he could have used that gold better off towards some more defensive options, or maybe even a higher damage output item if that's what he wanted.
But now you know, at least no one's getting away from Julio. Should he start to stick on them, as Oni Fury getting low, ultimate comes through and BeltSlap secures it just as you ride it up. The Trixtank doesn't want to stop there, plucks in, but he's immediately gonna get cut down. Totti with his 2nd kill of the game. That's usually where you immediately back up after doing gold, right, Mifflin? You use something on the objective. We don't take the fight afterwards. Trix wasn't interested in that sort of idea.
I mean, we knew it from the get with this Thorns pickup that Trix was only going to continue to press W. Unfortunately, it doesn't pan out for them there as Just Have 6 start to aggress onto this mid lane tower.
Tower's taking a long time to fall, though, as Julio's doing great work in the middle of 4. Big tether kept him healthy in the midst of everybody. Is Dzoni now going to go in, but his ultimate's already down, and Soto's going to pop his ultimate. Soto's going to take down Dzoni with ease, but Julio finishes off Totti. In the meantime, Rottwen down to a sliver of HP. Arkkyl's auto will finally take care of it, but Oti still has that execute, finds one with it, and now Zyrhoes in a bad spot as Achilles looking to chase him down. Arkkyl, meanwhile, handling Soto for what feels like the 85th time this game, and just like the other 84, everyone goes Soto's way, 7 kills for him, 4 kills quickly for Just F6. They even the kill total at 11. The lead isn't gone for BeltSlap Mifflin, but that's the first 5-on-5 team fight that they've had, and Just F6 held their own.
Let's call it a 5-on-4 as Trix hit that into mode button at the very beginning around that gold free to get picked out. Unfortunately, Soto's ultimate spread to 2 members from Dzoni's death, landing onto Julio and Arkkyl, dealing so much damage. I think maybe Dzoni thought he was going to be able to survive it out with his ultimate, so he just continued to move towards his team, but unfortunately, that last tick does make him drop, and that ultimate was a huge changing factor for that team fight. Finding it onto 3 members, Serqet ult, that's huge. It's going to be so hard to fight into that. You don't have any healing afterwards, as well as that damage going to be ticking away at you. Unfortunately for BeltSlap, defending that tier 1 tower just wasn't the right decision this time.
Trixtank again in a bit of an awkward position, but still has his dash available. Still uses looking in the water, scared of a potential stun coming from Achilles. That fight in mid lane is an exact, it's a great demonstration of why you like Serqet. up against Kali. Dzoni pops that ultimate, is going to try and snowball the team fight, and immediately just gets insta-killed by that ult. Knows that he's not getting any healing, can't get his target, and make sure that he gets that healing like Kali often tries to do. Soto shuts him down, and then gets the cherry on top with the spread, as you mentioned. Tier 1 tower falls, as just F6 were a little bit preoccupied on this right-hand side, but they did get Pyromancer in the meantime. They're down about 3,000 gold right now, 3,500, but experience now irrelevant. Everyone level 20 save for the supports. Feel like just F6 are really in an acceptable position in this game all of a sudden.
They truly are. They went from bleak to completely even so quickly. One misplay around that gold free results in that team wipe for the side of just F6 into a tier 1 tower as well. And they get that Pyromancer off of it, completely evening up this game. As you said, it's only a 3,000 gold deficit, but split between 5 members. That's not a huge deal. It's not even an item for anybody. This is a completely even game outside of the compositions. Belt Slap does have that time bomb in the Kali that we've been talking about this entire time, who has now hit level 20. She's got the chin size online, which is so core on this god. Executioner as well. The Executioner passive does work against Kali's passive just so ever so slightly, but is still a decent pickup for high DPS for that god. But there's so much on the side of Belt Slap that just is going to project them further into this game. If they do fall behind, they do have this Kukulkan able to zone out of the Phoenix, so they have a sick defense. They've got this spearhead composition with this Osiris able to move in onto these enemies' gods if they do pull the lead, so they can aggress into enemy Phoenixes as well. Just F6 has every step to prove going forward. This next Fire Giant is going to be hugely indicative of the game, and I'm a huge proponent of the defensive warding position. If you can get your ward down first and camp up around it on Fire Giant, you are at the advantage.
Very easy to use that to your advantage as we jump back in. Looks like Trixtank has already lost his ultimate, but Soto's committed with his. That's a big deal. I was about to say that it's pretty just important at this point. Yes, Kali is nearly to 6 items. She's level 20. This is normally where she takes over games and ends them herself. But as long as Sotos has that ultimate, doesn't that just kind of stop Dzoni from doing what he wants to do?
It stops him from getting the reset on his health. However, Kali is still absolutely potent outside of that reset in that she is still death immune when she presses that ult button, so she can just fully commit onto somebody and it likely get at least 1 kill, possibly more, even without the health reset. So, yes, Serqet is a decent counter pick in that you'll stop her from absolutely decimating your team, but you can never put a stop to a late-game Kali fully.
Fire Giant low, below 25%, but Zyrhoes' ultimate doesn't do it! Belt Slap still managed to secure the Fire Giant, but boy, was it close. Just F6 now grouping up, trying to see if Trixtank will make the same mistake he did around Gold Fury. This time, Belt Slap playing it slow, except for Dzoni. Blinks in, finds Doku all by himself, and cuts him up. Aegis never went off for the Merlin, and here's where the Kali eats. Double kill for him. Blink already down, so he will be able to catch Totti. But now it's just F6 who make the mistake around the objective. Trixtank claims one of his own to put himself on the board. And now the tier 2 tower will fall. This should be a mid-Phoenix. And that's the concern. Yes, we've got the counter pick, but you have to be in the right spot at the right time. And RemagDoku got caught sleeping.
This could potentially be game. There's so much dead on the side of just F6. They've got all of their ultimates available in Dzoni and Trixtank here. This Titan is falling fast.
Dzoni has to use his ultimate. Last breath on top of him, trying not to spread it like he did last time. Sotos does get one, but Belt Slap get the game anyways. A game that was all Belt Slap for a large majority, and then just F6 almost brought it back, but one objective fight ends up going Belt Slap's way, and they end the game off of it. That's the late game prowess, man. I mean, Dzoni, the premier late game assassin player, showing it off there in game number 1.
Kali is an absolute chainsaw in the late game, instantly melting away all of these enemies in front of her. Standing near Kali is a death sentence. However, that game really does show that making even a singular mistake at this top level can completely shift the dynamic of any match. Just F6 gets one nice play around the Gold Fury and goes from completely out of the game to completely even, and then in turn they make one mistake around the Fire Giant, and Belt Slap literally just wins the game off of it. At this top level of play that is at these high-tier SCC teams, you can't be making basic mistakes like that.
No, it's just getting separated and not knowing exactly where that Kali is. Definitely a fatal flaw there for Doku on the Merlin. Dzoni doesn't do that much player damage, but frankly doesn't need to. On the Kali, you kind of do all that late game, and the game ended before you really think that Kali is going to do the majority of her great work. Trixtank, I thought, had a phenomenal game on the Sobek, save for one really bad decision that basically evened up the game. But overall, Belt Slap looked like they were playing very well. But I got to give some credit to Just F6, man. I honestly thought that this game was much closer than I would have given them credit for coming into this set.
Yeah, looking just at the rosters, I mean, everyone's probably favoring Belt Slap, but as I said at the beginning, Just F6 have proven that they can compete at this level, and I have to shout him out by name. iSotos, man, my heart goes out to you. You were really putting in the work, the true workhorse of the Just F6 lineup. It just wasn't quite enough. I believe he was 5-2 around 15 minutes in the game, the only one really doing anything for that team, keeping them afloat, but it just wasn't quite enough as he got outscaled by the Kali.
Wow, mark your calendars, chat. It's, March 21st, according to my calendar. And Mifflin talking about how well junglers are playing? Crazy. Would have never guessed that. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with game number 2. Welcome back to the Smite Challenger Circuit, everybody. Aggro and Mifflin along for the second set of the day. Just F6 put up a pretty considerable fight up against Belt Slap, but still end up falling sub 30 minutes. But Mifflin, they were making plays. iSotos in particular in the jungle was able to turn some things around. But overall, I don't think you can let Arkkyl do what he did to Totti that game and expect to win a whole lot. He was dominant in the early game.
I'm sorry, who did you say turned things around on the side of Just F6?
Yeah, I mean, it was a team effort. Just one guy who happened to be not in a lane a whole lot, who was really clearing camps that were in the jungle more often than not. It was iSotos in the jungle, yeah. It was the jungler.
Yeah, iSotos kind of popped off that game. If I'm on Just F6, I know that Belt Slap is the favored team largely, right? 7-3 is what I gave the odds for Belt Slap. So that game shows me that Just F6 can compete. There was a point where that was anyone's game in the late game. That gives me a little bit of confidence going forward. So maybe Just F6 doesn't even take a morale hit here. Maybe they're feeling a little bit better.
I agree. I mean, that game goes about as well as it can go for Belt Slap early game, right? And still, Just F6 were in it towards the end. So I think that's a confidence booster as much as losing a game can be in that moment. As Belt Slap now in that first pick position. I wonder if you ban Ullr here if you're Just F6 and try and take that out of Arkkyl's hands. I feel like that would be something I would consider at the very least with how well Arkkyl plays that pick.
I mean, Belt Slap showing a bit of respect there, banning out that Serqet for the jungler on the side of Just F6. You know, earning himself a bit of a respect ban. Got to feel pretty good going forward. However, if you're wasting one of your bans on Serqet, who is not in the meta right now, that makes you imagine, what are you giving up to Just F6 here as Camazotz getting hovered by Belt Slap?
Camazotz really wasn't a factor too much in our first set. Now was banned in game 1 of this set. Now gets let through and first picked by Belt Slap. And the Ullr, instead of banning it, Just F6 decided to take it for themselves. I think this is smart to not let Arkkyl get that pick for himself yet again. Kukulkan is on the table, but Just F6 decided to go with the Athena. Not the pick I was expecting, and based on your face, not the one you were expecting either.
I mean, I am a huge proponent of Athena in that she single-handedly runs the show in late-game team fights. You can leave Athena up to initiating every fight as well as she has a fantastic peel. She's got that global presence as well, but she's not a top pick god. As you said, Kukulkan was still available, but Belt Slap doesn't elect to take any of these top picks either, instead going for the Anhur and the Sobek, which is a traditionally aggressive lane, and Anhur is one of the few gods that has very good trade potential into Ullr. If he uses his ultimate to immune the Axe Stun, that should land you at least 3 of your spears there, as well as the Impale is going to be a very good determining factor in these fights. Whoever lands their stun first in that dual lane matchup once it becomes a 1v1 when the supports rotate out should have the advantage in any fight.
Interesting that no Kukulkan or Kali pick there for Belt Slaps. Trixtank must really love this Sobek, man. He keeps taking it really, really early in these drafts, and that opens the door for Just F6 to get the Kukulkan for Doku, and that's the exact type of pick you want with Athena. The great setup. Thor gets let through. He gets all the way down here and instantly picked up by Just F6, so I love the comp that Just F6 has put together so far. It's a matter of execution now, it feels like, as King Arthur and Olorun being hovered. I would be shocked to see this Olorun go through, but it does. Wow. Is that going to be on her mid then? No, that doesn't feel like what you want to do. You want to put that on her in Arkkyl's hands as much as you can. Olorun's a very surprising pick here, though, and a Guan Yu is perfect to answer it. You want CC immunity and gods that can stick on you if you want to try and counter Olorun. Guan Yu does that perfectly. I think that Belt Slap definitely got the worst end of the draft. Doesn't mean they're going to lose the game, but just F6 have certainly set themselves up for a good position.
Olorun going mid. As you said, they did want to put on her in the hands of Arkkyl, but Olorun in the middle of the map, that god doesn't do very much until he's about full slotted or at least late game in terms of XP around level 15. It's going to be hard to fight around that 3v3 in the middle lane. However, Dzoni on that Camazotz should be able to make up for the majority of that pressure, as Camazotz does deal immense damage and has great stick potential onto Kukulkan. But I'm not a huge fan of this Olorun pickup. It would have been better in the long lane just because that's a safer lane, as well as you can farm up a little bit more easily over there. But taking away the on her from Arkkyl into this Ullr matchup onto Totti would have been pretty crippling as well. I imagine maybe they chose this comp fully intending to put Olorun into the long lane, and then they realized that Totti is on Ullr, and that would have been ill-advised.
Either way, it's an odd one, I think, for Belt Slap, and we'll see how well Zyrhoes can do on this pick in the mid lane, and if Totti can end up standing a little bit taller in this lane. Now, he eventually evened it up, but it took a lot of help from iSotos, though iSotos on a god that camps duo very well. Thor known for walking over to Gold Fury and channeling that ultimate and being able to dunk basically the whole lane all at once, so certainly an option available to just F6 to camp Arkkyl out on this left side of the map. Is Arkkyl starting with that light blade, maybe this Aussie rush that we've seen some players go for? Usually it's on gods like Jing Wei, not on her necessarily. You want power on her. Is that the direction that makes the most sense to you?
Power is certainly the direction that makes the most sense to me, especially on her, as you said, as he has that additional in-hand auto damage from his passive. But the Aussie pickup has been shown to be favored extremely heavily on the European side. Anhur does benefit greatly from that flat pen from Aussie, as well as the attack speed. However, it's not going to be able to get as much value. He's going to have to be trading into this Ullr the entire time. Maybe he elects for that early lifesteal pickup because he knows he can take in a lot of poke, as we're seeing some aggression onto Totti to jump out from Arkkyl, but it's not quite enough to land there, as Totti has to use his to escape as well. And that lane's going to go ahead and reset back to neutral.
Man, Arkkyl probably just didn't have that impale up at the time. iSotos in trouble in mid, just able to hammer out as the Devour was on its way. Totti uses the beads as Trixtank just blinked in. You know, the Olorun mid is something that I definitely wasn't expecting, but the more I think about it, the more it does make sense, not necessarily for a team comp perspective, but for a player perspective. Zyrhoes has always loved these magical ADCs. The new Purple Boots rush that we highlighted in game number 1 does work very well for magical ADCs, gives them some sustain. They don't usually need as much mana anyways, and a whole lot of power. And Zyrhoes loves his soul, loves Kronos. Olorun, the third magical ADC, alongside Freya, who Zyrhoes also loves for what it's worth, kind of checks out at some degree. We'll see if it works out for him, though, as iSotos nice secure on that blue buff, an important one, because Guan, certainly a mana-hungry character in that solo lane. That hammer secure was big by iSotos.
That was, had Guan lost that blue buff, he likely wouldn't have got the next couple ones either, so getting that there is a huge deal. I want to highlight the fact that even though they have Kukulkan and Thor in that 2v2 fight in mid, we saw that even regardless of it being an Olorun who has historically low pressure in any role that you put him in, Dzoni on the Camazotz was able to box them out early and win that 2v2 lane, getting the pressure, moving him into that blue buff, which opened up the avenue for that steal, but unfortunately it doesn't go. As you said, iSotos stole it away very well.
Dzoni definitely playing much more aggressively on the Camazotz than on the Kali, and that tracks. That's how you should be playing those two characters. Kali, a late game hyper carry, Camazotz, a hyper carry that starts at minute 1, basically, with the base damage and the scaling in the kit. There really doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of bad points of the game for Camazotz. Is there a particular time you want to try to attack him, Mifflin, or is it just run away as often as you can?
So if Camazotz really just like doesn't have any cooldowns available to him, like at all, like 1, 2, 3, and 4 all down, I think maybe sometimes I will fight him as long as there's no passive pools for him to stand near. Then it's really time to hop onto him, you know what I mean? But outside of that, no, there isn't a real great option for moving in onto this Camazotz. As we said, he has huge sustainability and damage output for himself, as well as the leap to escape anything that might come his way. And if all fails, he can use that ultimate to completely remove himself from the playfield and just continue to escape or aggress if he so chooses.
You know, I really thought you were going to go along the lines of, yeah, I usually fight Camazotz when the wind blows exactly southeast. I flipped 3 coins, and they go heads, heads, tails, in that order. I play rock, paper, scissors against my mom, and she goes rock, then scissors, and I win both of those. And those are the only times where it's okay to fight Camazotz, because it feels like it's that rare that you get an opportunity to do so. Is on this left-hand side, Totti on the receiving end of that Defender of Olympus, Shell as well by Rottwen, but in the mid lane, Dzoni jumps out just in time. Trixtank claims first blood. Totti falls on the left-hand side. iSotos in the air in mid lane, but feel like he's not going to be able to find anything. Instead, just heading towards his own red buff, where that might get contested. Though it looks like Beltslap content with just getting that first blood.
With Spirit of the Nine Winds no longer available and Anvil of Dawn down as well, I would have liked to see them move in towards that red buff invade, Beltslap that is, but instead, Olorun was a little bit out of position, couldn't get the follow-up for Dzoni, so he elects to play it a little bit safe, steal away those small mid-camps instead. But it's still a completely even game. First blood has gone down to Beltslap. We're looking at about a 1,000 gold deficit. That's mainly off playing the map just slightly better, forcing out the enemy gods in mid lane a couple times, forcing them to slow down their farm. However, this game is largely even. Taking a peek at those comps, I still do favor Beltslap going into the late game purely off the fact that they essentially have what is 2 hunters, one with a huge teamfight ultimate as well. It's going to be hard as Guan Yu falls, CaptainOti getting ganked out by Camazotz. Not much you can do about that. It's a Camazotz.
And no ultimate there for Oti. Julio had done good work to poke him low and make sure that there was no ultimate available for the Guan Yu. Dzoni there for the cleanup. It's a beautiful pillar impale by Arkkyl. Starts off this fight nicely. Use of the CC immunity as well. Totti just 1 auto from death, but Arkkyl can't afford to take too long because Rottwen is on the way. And Arkkyl loses out on what should have been a very, very clean solo kill. That's what makes it hard, man. That's ADC's tough. You end up missing 1 or 2 autos, and it goes your way. It goes the other way after everything before that was perfect.
I mean, you missed 3 auto attacks. That's the only thing that happened there that he didn't do absolutely perfectly. And he loses his life for it, falling down to Ullr as well. The worst target the kill could have landed on. My heart goes out to him. In those situations where you know that the enemy team is coming, Arkkyl definitely spotted him on the side of his eye as he jumps in there. He knows he has to get that kill or it's going to go completely sideways for him. Thor up in the air.
Dzoni still has the ability to get out of there, though. Has the Devour ready to go, gives him some space, and then the ultimate right on top of that. iSotos could have landed right off that axe stun, but it would have had to be pretty quick. That is not a long stun duration for Ullr, so just a little bit short on that quick execution. Still, getting Dzoni's ultimate, never a bad start for you. As we check in with the mid lane, by the way, this build for Olorun, normally it's Bancrofts in that slot. That's usually what you see for magical ADCs. Book of Thoth here for Zyrhoes, trying to get a little bit of extra scaling, as now he's going to drop that ultimate. Rottwen
Big
knocked
burst
up, but slowly lurking in the waters is there, and Dzoni finally able to get that killing blow onto the Athena.
I really do like the power stack onto Olorun so we can benefit a little bit more off those magical, air quotes, crit auto attacks that Olorun brings. Getting the early lifesteal is good, but he's got some on the boots, which is just enough to sustain as is. So instead, electing to pick up some higher damage output items is going to let him work off of his passive a little bit more so than maybe a Bancrofts would. I imagine we will see some further lifesteal in the build a little bit further on. I would like to see him move in towards a demonic grip potentially going forward in that 3rd item slot.
Something with attack speed is beautiful impale. Beads a little bit too late from iSotos. He took too much damage, but maybe didn't know that Arkkyl was lying in wait for him. Arkkyl, despite losing that kill and getting a death himself, doesn't stop him from playing aggressively on this left-hand side. He's already gotten Totti's beads and forced him to back again as Trixtank gets axed So Totti will prevent that CC chain from happening on that left-hand side. Nicely done by him. Arkkyl, despite that death, pretty even right now with Totti.
Totti, he is pretty even despite the death, but take a peek at Totti's build. He's electing for this Transcendence, and we're 9, almost 10 minutes into the game, and he hasn't even finished the item yet. He hasn't started up his stacks, so every time that Arkkyl dies, he is forcing out the Ullr, and he's not able to finish off that Transcendence early enough. So maybe going for that stacking item is going to come back to bite him in the end.
And remember, it's not as easy as it was for Transcendence. You have to actually stack it now to get that CDR. That's a big difference in power level. For Ullr in particular, maybe more so than just about any other god that was building Transcendence regularly. I feel like Ullr loses out the most by not getting that immediate burst of 10% CDR. Finally, Totti does finish it off, but now has to stack it up, as we mentioned. Arkkyl not done with his Aussie, though, so I feel like this is still a position where Totti should just be dealing outright more damage than Arkkyl, as long as Arkkyl isn't perfectly accurate with the Impale
Thor's up
in the ultimate. Sotos looking for something, but finds his back harpies instead. Hey, he landed that ult, though. You gotta give him credit on that one. Nailed that one pretty consistently. Just wanted to see if Dzoni and Beltslap wanted to go aggressive in mid. Trixtank now wants to go aggressive in mid, looking for RemagDoku. Blink in by Dzoni. Devour doesn't get him out of range of that ultimate. And his ult's going to come out now that Athena has landed. Shell as well. Great body block by Trixtank. And Johnny's going to find his third in a row. Gets him sustained off those vampiric bats. Hammer lands, and Soto's going to put Dzoni down. But now Zyrhoes drops that Sanctified Field, but just doesn't have the damage in order to make it work. Totti going to jump in. Zyrhoes, no choice but to try and turn and burn. Oti going to beat Julio on the rotation to his own side of the jungle. And it's a 2-for-1. Doku falls, but Beltslap lose their mid and jungle.
Beltslap playing overly aggressive in the middle lane there. They need to recognize the fact that Olorun's only going to pop off the later this game goes, and the fact that Kukulkan has fantastic self-peel in his second ability, and the tornado is able to get him out of danger. Not fully enough to save his life. RemagDoku does fall, but he deals so much damage and puts the enemy team so far out of position. They took that fight between Just F6's Tier 1 and Tier 2 mid-tower. That's rough. Totti losing his beads here as Arkkyl goes aggressive.
Oh, wow. Accurate enough that time with the Desert Fury. That's what he was looking for earlier. Arkkyl gets the solo kill. What do you know? As soon as he backs and gets that Aussie, that infusion of power and flat pen make all the difference in the world. Arkkyl gets beads and the kill. It's Totti again on the respawn. Julio ganked on this right-hand side. Sotos' dunk was accurate this time around. Julio needs to get some energy up if he wants to be able to find that ultimate. Oti's used his ultimate as well, and Julio won't be able to get away this time around, but Beltslap, the classic play. Gank on the right-hand side, Gold Fury up. We get the Gold Fury in response to that kill, so the gold lead staying pretty stable around 3,000 gold. It's just F6 trying to answer back with a Pyro.
The 1-for-1 trade, or the 1-for-0 trade, losing the Gold Fury but getting the Pyromancer, it still goes a little bit in favor of Beltslap, I'd say, overall. That gold and XP from the actual main objective in that Fury is so important as Trixtank blinks past the Zephyr in the back looking for RemagDoku, completely alone, by the way.
But he's so low that Trix can basically solo him from that position with lurking in the waters, and Doku has to respect it. So he uses beads, not knowing who else is in tow. No wards on that side of the map really at all, except by Pyromancer for just F6. So that's understandable that he has to use the beads in that spot. Trixtank trading Blink for beads, he'll do that every single time. That's ideal for Sobek.
It really is. Burning out any carries beads at any point at any trade for a support should be good, including your life. Supports, stop playing passive. Please play more aggressive. I don't value you
here's
as...
here's the deal, okay? You living as a support is basically irrelevant to me. Your job is to go in there and just suicide for as much value as we can get off of your body, and that should be your end goal. It's just good. It's good smite to hard into support. Can I say that? Is that too far? I think it's true. I really do.
No, you're absolutely right. Let's take a peek at some of the SPL supports that got picked up. Inbound, it's traditionally a huge inter as RemagDoku taking a lot of damage here from Olorun.
And now he's gonna fall. Trixtank gobbles him up on that side of the map. But now Arkyl's in a bad spot. Great Aegis, though, immunes a lot of damage, and he's going to return it right back the way it came. Desert Fury gets that job done. Dzoni going to be able to claim the last hit, though. 4-1 for him. Is now Arkkyl using good relics there. That's sometimes a weakness for him. Good relic usage that time. Ends up buying Belt Slap another kill, a 2 for 0 on that dive. Tier 1 tower on this right-hand side, rather. A little bit low. Julio willing to tank this up pretty considerably. And now with that back, CaptainOti is going to have to use a teleport if he doesn't want to lose a tower.
Forcing out the teleport here isn't as huge of a deal as Gold Fury's down on that side of the map, so he doesn't really need to use it to move over there as quickly. But Dzoni aggressing in might be able to find this easy pick. The slow lands.
No, still ultimate though is still up though from Oti, so he's a-okay. Trixtank still pretty far forward, but he's okay. He's Sobek. He's got that tank boots pickup alongside the Gauntlet of Thebes. Love the tank boots up against this composition from Just F6. They've got dots with the Kukulkan tornado, so it's going to stack up that passive quickly. And even more importantly for me is the CCR on these boots is going to be huge. This is a CC-heavy composition by Just F6, and it's easy to get Thor walled into an Athena taunt, and that CCR will make all the difference.
Nice
Julio
juke.
Jumps out of the way of that Thor ult. Beautifully done. A little wiggle just to the side, and he's out of there, no problem.
That's so unfortunate. At that point, had Thor just aimed for him, he would have found it. But Totti, Beans Aegis dropped. The ultimate coming out from Arkkyl. Not quite enough damage yet, but he falls anyway from a fantastic gank from Dzoni. RemagDoku's the only one in position to defend this tier 2 tower. Athena's rotating over slowly, but red buff available to be stolen.
And Johnny's going to heal up quite a bit off this one between the Assassin's Blessing and the sustain there for Camazotz. Fury's coming up soon, so no surprise that Belt Slap want to get as much map control as they can on this left side of the map, maybe even force down a little bit on these tier 2 towers, and it looks like Zyrhoes is doing just that in mid. Taunt onto Trixtank, but doesn't last very long thanks to that crowd control reduction, so he's a-okay. As we check in with Zyrhoes again, I really thought that this build, the same one that Doku's gone for, the Book of Thoth into Breastplate, works very, very well on Kukulkan because you're double dipping on that mana conversion passive, so the Breastplate doesn't lose you too much damage. On Olorun, I think you will notice that lack of damage, but the CDR certainly helps as look at this. Belt Slap on over to the Fire Giant, just F6, none the wiser. A great call here by Belt Slap.
None the wiser they are. Fire Giant going to fall uncontested. To touch on that Breastplate of Pallor pickup onto Olorun, I'm actually a fan of defense when you're ahead. We saw there under that tier 2 tower, he took the double tap from Thor, and it did nearly no damage to him based off that defense. And yes, he is losing out on a bit of damage, but because he's ahead, he's already got this ring online as well as the tier 1 of the next one. It's Thor's in the air, though.
Dzoni has to use that ultimate early and doesn't. Gets stunned and put down. An easy kill once his beads are down. Dzoni, look, man, I know Camazotz is good, but maybe not 4v1 good at this point in the game. Primal Fury secured by just F6. They get something in their back pocket, but still 4 members of Belt Slap with Fire Giant. Getting it off Dzoni and the Camazotz is important, though.
It is huge, but Camazotz is one of the few gods on the side of Belt Slap that can sustain outside of the Fire Giant buff, and the sustain from Fire Giant is some of the biggest determining factors on these late game sieges. You want to go into these towers, try and take the damage from the enemy gods, maybe burn some of their ultimates, then back up and heal with the Fire Giant, then move back in. That's where the real potency of Fire Giant comes from, is the ability to stay in these fights longer. Camazotz kind of has that in his kit already, so he can stay in these fights a little bit longer anyway, regardless.
Tier 2 tower on this left-hand side, down in the blink of an eye, as you would expect from a team with this much extra sustain. Looked like Arkkyl wanted to back up and get this purple buff, but the rest of Belt Slap surging forward. Not Dzoni, though. He's in mid lane, still a little bit separated. Taunt onto Trixtank. He doesn't take too much damage as he's awfully tanky at this point in the game. Spirit Robe going to help with that after the CC. Great Wall going to lock off Julio, but that's a level 17 King Arthur. Not enough damage onto him quite yet. Oti going to drop that ultimate. He's going to get a pretty big stun here with help from Athena. Sotos lining it up, and it's a double dunk onto both backliners. Relics used, and Doku flattens Arkkyl. Now it's Trixtank in that front line. Dzoni has returned, to this team fight. Blinking in, looking for the Kukulkan, but body blocks going to make it difficult to do just that. A great fight for Just F6.
Just F6 made masterful use of the Guan heal there to maintain their lead in that fight. It's kind of unfortunate that Beltslap only elected to pick up one anti-heal item, and that's on Dzoni in that Brawler's Beat Stick, and he wasn't even available in that fight to participate. So Guan Yu went largely unchecked with his healing and got to survive from nearly dead. He was below 300 health at that point. Just F6 defense comp displayed right there, I didn't get a chance to talk about it beforehand, but is really good. RemagDoku on the Kukulkan can drop tornadoes outside of his Phoenix to keep the minion wave out, as well as close up half that lane so that they can't rotate through that. Rottwen, when the game is simplified around the Phoenix, he's only got to taunt people in front of him instead of having to worry about people rotating in from the sides. It's going to be pretty hard for them to move past that as well. It's very difficult for Beltslap to get past this wall of defense that Just F6 can put up.
Including the actual wall from Sotos, which was critical in that team fight as he locked off Julio and got him low, and it looks like it's locked off Zyrhoes this time around. Zyrhoes gets picked in the mid lane. Doku finds a 7th kill for Just F6, and Mifflin, this is feeling pretty similar, isn't it? I mean, Beltslap doing everything right. One fight doesn't go their way, and all of a sudden, Just F6 gets a lot of momentum. Still a 9K deficit, but working towards it. Johnny's lurking, finds Doku. Good damage onto him, but that breastplate pays off for Doku for the moment. Now plucked back into Julio's waiting arms, but Sotos has the dunk lined up. He's looking for the right target, and it's Arkkyl. No relics for him. Sotos one-shots the enemy hunter. Now stuns off Julio. CaptainOti gonna find him. And just like that, Just F6 has found another team fight in their favor. They lose RemagDoku, but they get 2 more. There should be some more gold off the back end.
It seems to me like Beltslap really struggles playing on that back foot. The second they lose one of their members and they're not 5-stacked, they keep looking for these fights as if they are largely in the lead 4 versus 5, and instead they get punished for it. Just F6 taking fantastic privilege there to make that fight happen in their favor. Taking away that tier 1 mid tower is going to open up the map a bit, make it easier for them to contest this fire giant once it respawns in about a minute. And they're moving in towards this tier 1 tower on the left. A little bit less impactful for map pressure, but will get them some gold if they elect to stick around and take that down. However, as I always say, defensive warding position on this fire giant is so important, and right now that side of the map doesn't have a single ward on it.
I wonder if you even contest this, though, if you're Just F6, because your Phoenix defense just went really well. You won that fight, which was not on Phoenix, but it was a 4-on-5 with Zyrhoes dead. Feel like that maybe we just take these fights on Phoenix, especially with how they lost last game, Mifflin, where they defend pretty well, they're doing okay, and then they end up losing immediately on the Phoenix or the Fire Giant fight. What would your call be if you're Just F6?
If I'm Just F6, I'm one of the most cautious players ever. My shot calling is so cautious. I'm worried that this next Fire Giant is going to be the game. At this point, there's only one tier 2 tower available for Just F6, as well as the fact that the majority of Beltslap has hit their entire power spike as Dzoni gets aggressed on by Sotos.
Sotos tries to one-shot him, but Dzoni, that Void Shield ends up being the difference. And now he's like, yeah, I'm low, but I can get you lower. Dzoni blinks in, has to use that ultimate, and Sotos ends up falling. A good idea, knowing that Dzoni has no beads, but Sotos just a little bit too light in the damage department. Not a whole lot of pen, maybe, but I mean, between Jotuns and the flat pen from Heartseeker, normally that's enough. Not the case up against Dzoni.
Sotos, I'll say it once and I'll never say it again. If you're going to step to the king being Camazotz, you best come correct. Take his head with your first shot. Unfortunately, you didn't. At that point, he kind of hovered around the red buff after his kill didn't happen, and he had to use his hammer defensively later. He should have immediately disengaged over the wall. Instead, Dzoni was low health. I know where that bloodlust comes in as a jungler, where you see someone below a quarter and you want to stick around and find that kill, especially considering the fact that Sotos was full HP and mana after the dunk. Unfortunately, though, Camazotz has so much damage.
But Mifflin, I mean, they have an Athena ult. They don't use it in that moment. Feel like that could have gone better for sure. Right side Phoenix down to about half HP. Julio first in. He's going to take about half his health from that Phoenix. As Sotos has respawned, so they do have to respect that. His ultimate will be back up and ready to go. But first, poke out Dzoni a little bit. No anti-heal really at all for Sotos. No Brawler's Beat Stick, and maybe that is the difference maker in that team fight as well. Now they're going to try and brawl it out again in the 1v1. Dzoni willing to tank up that Phoenix for a little bit and try and get it as Zero's ultimate comes down, but Guan Yu doesn't have to care about that. He's got his horse. Good jump away by Arkkyl to avoid the stun, and Zyrhoes has to use the Aegis to buy himself some time. Soto's going to dunk on the backline again, another good dunk by him, but this time he doesn't one-shot both backliners. Arkkyl
Soto's in
some trouble, but not as much as Sotos. No hammer for him anymore as Dzoni and Julio zone away the rest of the team. Good pre-beads, but Julio's got him locked down. Soto's gonna fall to the sword of King Arthur, as now Belt Slap gonna have to try and re-engage underneath this Phoenix. Dzoni returns to this left side, this time trying to deal with Totti, but he's gotta be careful here. Phoenix is weakened and he'll grab it, and Dzoni actually able to get out scot-free, still holding on to the beads and the ult.
That was a disrespectful Phoenix take from Dzoni. Had Totti found even 2 or 3 auto attacks there, he might have been able to take Johnny's life. Instead, Dzoni electing to just juke around, doesn't take a single auto attack from Totti, just kind of plays him like a chump. Instead, now 2 Phoenixes down, they're moving to the left side.
Whew! Big ultimate though from Doku. Both backliners get absolutely eviscerated. Neither one had purification beads, and Rottwen and Doku combined nicely to take them down. But that doesn't mean that the fight is over. Dzoni still up at that ultimate Trixtank, trying to buy some space for his assassin, but it looks like that taunt's gonna pay off once more. Dzoni hanging out in that pool. Good lord,
wow.
man, somebody hit
Never
him.
missed.
No way. He turns it around. Thank goodness. Finally, Doku gets his 3rd kill of the fight. A great Athena taunt sets up for an easy ultimate for Doku.
That could have very easily turned around had they not found the damage there onto Camazotz after that Zephyr missed. He was around half health. He could have turned that fight completely. Fortunately for Just X6, they do find that kill. Their defense is strong, but not strong enough to completely reflect that aggression from Belt Slap. 2 Phoenixes falling now. It's going to be very hard to close that gap, as well as this 10,000 gold deficit. Experience is nearly a non-factor at this point. The lowest level on the side of Just F6 is their support at level 18. That's not a huge deal, as well as the fact that they are mostly full build outside of that Kukulkan, who's still working on his 5th item. It's going to be hard for Just F6, but at this point, the gold deficit is starting to mean less and less as it goes forward. Yes, they still need those 6 slotted items. However, XP is not a factor anymore. If they can get these Phoenixes back alive, this is an even game.
Man, this is again, Belt Slap looked really, really good and then make a couple of mistakes. That left side Phoenix attempt is a greedy one, and Arkkyl and Zyrhoes end up holding hands way too close on that siege. You really can't afford to let your backliners get double Athena taunted, ever. Especially when you don't have beads. Sotos had pulled those out earlier with a good dunk. And good adjustment by Just F6. If Arkkyl and Zyrhoes are going to stand next to each other, gotta hit them both. And Rottwen did just that.
Yeah, Rottwen playing very well in this Athena. Athena also gets so much better on the defense as well once the game is simplified. As I said earlier, it's very easy to find those taunts. I know that I've seen some success on Athena myself in the past. It's one of my favorite supports to play. She is incredibly simple. I would like to see Defender of Olympus used a little bit more aggressively. It seems like they're pigeonholing themselves into using Defender of Olympus alongside Guan Yu ultimate. Instead, if she elects to use it with Thor to dunk down on these enemies, maybe he'll be able to finish those kills himself.
Well, Sotos is up right now, but he's going to disengage, but Rottwen might not have a choice. That Cuckoo ultimate does a lot less than the last one, though it's hard to match that level of output. As Oti getting picked has started this whole engagement in a bad taste for Just F6. Oti ends up surviving, cost him his blink, his ultimate, though that's less of a big deal for Guan Yu. He's got a lot of CDR, and of course the ability to get his cooldowns back more quickly with that heal. But it costs 4 ultimates in total, or 3 ultimates rather, for Just F6, and make sure that there's no chance of the Fire Giant defense, though. I don't really think that they were going to do that anyways. Dzoni may have gotten caught in mid, though. Has the beads, but hasn't used them yet. Now he will. No stun coming from Oti that time around. And Julio to the rescue. He's going to be A-OK, will Dzoni. But look at Trixtank. He flanks in, finds Doku. After that blink, no Cuckoo ultimate quite yet, but Trix doesn't have his either. Does have the pluck, though, and Oti right back into the teeth of the team. Dzoni has returned, and Zero is going to put himself on the board. That's his first kill of the game. As mid and right side Phoenix have respawned, but it's bad timing for a couple weakened birds to pop up because Belt Slap's going to be able to get them quickly. Mid Phoenix, gone in the blink of an eye. Right side Phoenix follows quickly. And without a wave, Beltslap's going to try and go left.
Complete minions pushing in onto the Titan right now. All ultimates available from Just F6 though. This could be a heroic defense. They need to help out Rottwen in the back, however.
Zyrhoes in a bit of an awkward spot. Arkkyl taking up the Phoenix, and Soto's going to find him with that dunk. Both relics used by Arkkyl, and Soto's going to be able to escape, at least for the moment. But Dzoni doesn't want to let him go, and he'll find number 14 for Beltslap, his 7th. That's half of Beltslap's kills on the Camazotz. Titan as exposed as it's going to get 10 seconds on CaptainOti, and he will have his ultimate when he respawns. So Beltslap going to slow it down a little bit. Just wait for these fire minions to come in and wait to take the set. 30 minutes just about approaching on the clock. Arkkyl going to cut down Rottwen instantly. That Cuckoo ultimate does flatten the enemy on her, but I don't know if that's going to be enough, Mifflin. Titan down to about 2/3, but it has reset as Johnny's forced backwards. Sotos on the respawn at about 25. That's got to keep your eye on at this point, as he's the next one coming up for Just F6. Julio still wants to stick around, as does Zyrhoes. No ultimate for Zyrhoes for a little bit, though. Beltslap kind of hanging on the razor wire as Dzoni gonna go in. No ultimate or beads for him, but Oti plucked back again. Trixtank finds that frontliner cleanly. Julio in onto Doku, finds that ultimate, but the Titan has been able to stay healthy this entire time, and now Sotos is up with ultimate. This should be a disengage by Beltslap, whether they want it or not. Another big dunk
Nice
by Sotos. The wall is good. Zyrhoes' ultimate comes up right on time, and that's gonna be enough to make sure that he survives despite a great dunk from Sotos. Just F6, hold the base.
They may have held the base with 3 Phoenixes down. It would be a historic moment. I believe in the entirety of Smite competitive history, we've only seen 2 comebacks from the triple Phoenix down. I'm not sure that Just F6 has it. Their comp does have defense, but once they switch to aggression, it's going to be hard. We've seen a little bit of trouble as Totti falls quickly into the back.
Julio finds a stun onto Sotos as well, and Sotos in trouble. Julio healing up so much, they finally bring him down as Sotos tries to exit stage right, but Dzoni not going to let him. He's going to cut him down from the sky. Zyrhoes in trouble in the mid lane as he's a little bit weak, but should get some sustain from his 3 and that Fire Giant. Oti has now been left to the Wolves, as with no ultimate, no way he gets away. And that should be the game. Only 2 members left standing. Julio's dead, but they've got 3 waves of fire minions coming down, and Beltslap look poised to take game number 2.
Kukulkan, no ultimate available, and beads down as well. The only thing really helping him here is the fact that he has Aegis, but it won't likely get a chance to use it as the Titan falls quickly.
Remag plucked back and ultimately will stay alive, but his Titan will not. 18-14, Beltslap take game number 2. But if you would have told me, Mifflin, that Just F6 looked this good, I don't know if I would have believed you. I think that this is a team that, look, getting 2-0'd is never a positive feeling. You never feel good about getting 2-0'd. But when it's up against that team with that level of talent and you played them that closely, there's things to build on for Just F6. You can go back and watch this VOD and learn from it. And that's not always the case when you play up against these top-end teams.
It really isn't. I know that had I been in the shoes of Just F6 there, I'm proud of what I accomplished. I'm thinking just realistically, looking at the comps and the history of both these teams, you wouldn't have expected Just F6 to take a game or even to play it as close as you said earlier. So, as you said, it doesn't feel great to lose, but this is a good feeling knowing that you can compete at this level, showing that you can bare your teeth to these top-tier players as well. Just F6 have shown time and time again that they are a team to look out for, and the level of growth that we've seen since just the beginning of this season has been insane. Just F6 is getting better exponentially every week.
Dzoni on the Camazotz was a nightmare. What do you expect? He actually had the most damage taken on his team. He took more damage than Julio. It just absolutely insane. I believe Trixtank may have actually beat him out, but it was still right there alongside it. Dzoni, look, man, Johnny's really good player. Camazotz really good pick. No one should be surprised that this is how this game went for Dzoni.
Yeah, you can't be letting Camazotz through, especially when you have a star player like Dzoni on the enemy team. Yes, he took a lot of damage, but the sustain that he had was also insane. He would move in aggressively on these Phoenix Sieges first, find some poke damage on the enemy gods. This play right here was also phenomenal. And then he would back up, heal, and do it again, and there's not much you can do about it when this god has so many ways to recuperate his health in the jungle or on these passive pools on the map. It's very hard to keep a Camazotz down.
Will Beltslap remain the team to beat in the European Smite Challenger circuit? They are a team that you got to watch out for, but you got a couple other ones that you got to keep in mind as well. Just F6 not done today, by the way. They've got another challenge ahead of them up against Freshly Forged, which should be a very, very interesting match. So stay tuned. We'll be right back here with the Smite Challenger circuit.